Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, it is going to be a very self-explanatory video. It is my WWE hot takes and opinions video. I've actually wanted to do something like this for quite some time, but I just never got around to doing it because I was too busy doing other things. But now that I have free time for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm just like, hey, we're going to make this video right here, right now. And I have a lot of hot takes and opinions WWE-wise, so I'm just going to chop it up. I'll do this first video, see if people fuck with it, and if they don't, there won't be a part 2. And if they do, there'll be a part 2. There'll probably be a part 2 regardless, but who cares? But, yeah, you know how it is. Hot takes and opinions. I did it for cartoons. How many did I do? No, I just did it for cartoons. But anywho, we're going to get into it with the first hot take. Kurt Angle is one of the most influential wrestlers of all time. And I mean that 100%. Let me explain. So, Kurt Angle is a lot of people's favorite wrestlers. And one of mine, too. When I made my top 10 wrestlers list a few years back, I was an idiot and put Alberto Del Rio and the honorable mentions. And I totally forgot to put the wrestling machine, Kurt Angle. But Kurt Angle genuinely is one of the most popular wrestlers of all time, right? If you grew up watching WWE at its peak, whether it was the Attitude Era or right after the Attitude Era, whatever you want to consider it, right? It's a peak to different people. Kurt Angle was right there to many people. Like, he is many people's favorite wrestler because of his personality, because of his in-ring skills, because of the way he talks on the mic. And every single generation, right, they have what they want to be their Rock and Stone Cold, their Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. You know, like, they're always looking for the next somebody. And people draw inspiration from those wrestlers. Kevin Owens, Stone Cold, Ricky Starks, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, The Rock, or whoever copied Hulk Hogan, or John Cena copied Hulk Hogan. Like, you will always hear wrestlers tell their inspirations, right? And Kurt Angle is always there as some people's favorite. Not like, you know, trying to be just like them, but definitely an important figure in wrestling. Because whenever there's an Olympic wrestler that comes around, they're instantly compared to Kurt Angle. And Kurt set the bar so incredibly high, you literally, you cannot escape him. If you're a former amateur wrestler using an amateur wrestling character as your, you know, character and background, you will instantly be compared to Kurt Angle because he did it so damn good. You got Gable Steveson as the most recent one, who flopped horribly. You had Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, who were essentially two little Kurt Angles. I miss American Alpha so much. You have, I don't really know if he was compared to Kurt Angle when he was around, but Jack Swagger, he used the ankle lock, and he was an amateur wrestler too, and he wore red, white, and blue in his singlet. And I was like 10 when Jack Swagger was, you know, at his peak when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. So I wasn't really on the internet like that. I was 10 years old, but yeah. Those are just a few examples. And then you have Josh Alexander, who people are also comparing to Kurt Angle. And every time I look on, like, video games, right? Every time I look at, like, Call Universe modes or people's created universes or people's created wrestlers, I will always see a wrestler with an Olympic background. I will always see a wrestler who is based off, inspired by, or straight up a ripoff of Kurt Angle. Because he is that influential to people. He is so many people's top 10, top 3, probably number 1. And I mean it wholeheartedly when I say Kurt Angle is 100% one of the most influential wrestlers of all time. Like, the influence this man has, he's so respected that his prime was when he was on drugs. We called him Perk Angle. And he said, hey guys, can you stop doing that? Can you guys change the name up? We all literally just went, okay, we can call him Peak Angle instead. And everyone was cool with it. Every single person was cool with it. Even on Twitter, when you see people calling him Perk Angle, people will correct that man or woman in the comment section and go, nah man, we call him Peak Angle now. It's insane the amount of respect that he has because he was so damn talented from his WWF days to the wrestling machine in the mid-2000s to, like we said, Peak Angle and TNA. Like, Kurt Angle, genuinely, I mean this with my entire heart, is one of the most influential wrestlers of all time. And credit to the man, too, because he's genuinely one of the best of all time. I made a top 10 favorite a couple years back. If I had to make a top 10 in terms of ranking them, not just by favorite, but who I think is genuinely the top 10 wrestlers ever, Kurt Angle is in that top 10, and he's not going to leave that top 10. He's up there, man. I'm telling you, he's in my top 10. There's no shot he isn't. Second hot take, I miss the WWE Network and the independent WWE. Like, I missed it before they started doing all this stuff with Netflix and Peacock and TKO, because first off, I don't even have a place where I can watch full-length NXT episodes from the black and gold era, which was the best era of NXT. I can't use Daily Motion because Daily Motion don't have every episode. I recently tried using Tubi, but Tubi has select episodes, so Tubi's not even an option. The CW definitely isn't an option. What a shitty whatever. Peacock, luckily, has every single takeover. Luckily for us, Peacock has every single takeover. But that's it. Like, and the freedom that the WWE had to make their own shows, like Camp WWE, which was genuinely hilarious the first season. I think you should go watch it if you can find it anywhere online. What else was there? There was Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness. There was Legends House. There was Table for Three or whatever. Like, where they would just sit down at the table. Like, oh my God. There was Ride Along. Oh, and it was all only $9.99. It was so great. And we don't have that anymore. And it genuinely makes me so upset that we do not have the WWE Network, like independent WWE. Say what you want about Vince McMahon. He did everything in his power to make sure, like, WWE stayed maybe not on screen, but he did everything in his power to make sure, hey man, this is what we do, this is what wrestling is all about, and this is how I stay entertaining on Vince McMahon. And the WWE Network gave you options. There were so many options in everything. Every Raw, SmackDown, ECW, WCW, NXT TakeOver, pay-per-view. Every single thing was right there. Oh my God. Now I have to scramble across 4 different streaming platforms or services to watch some stuff in my free time. I literally, if I'm not watching NXT takeovers, I'm genuinely just not watching WWE in my free time because I just don't care. I just don't care to look for it all online. It was all right there with the WWE Network, and I don't know, man. Like, little things like people complain about online, like the logos being all in the ring. Over time, I got used to it. Do I miss the blank slate on my ring mat? Absolutely. Ring mats look the best when they're just plain, but it's just one of those things where after a while you don't even notice it. You just watch it regularly. I just miss the vibe of it, man. This is really just a rant about me missing the WWE Network. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. That's really all this second entry was, man. That's all it was. Next hot take: the WWE draft sucks for multiple reasons. Let me explain. I think the main reason why the WWE draft sucks is because there's no true brand loyalty anymore, right? Like, there's no true sense of a person getting drafted to that roster and sticking to that roster. That's what makes the draft important to begin with. Like, I'm not going to draft Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Bret Hart to my show on SmackDown. It's just 3 names, whatever. I'm not going to draft Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Bret Hart. And I'm not going to just make them go on Raw 2 or 3 weeks later. Like, the point of that brand, the point of that draft is for you to check in on certain days for that wrestler. Like, if Drew gets drafted to SmackDown, if Kevin gets drafted to SmackDown, if Bret Hart gets drafted to SmackDown, if goddamn the greatest of all time, the Santino Marella, gets drafted to SmackDown, I shouldn't tune into Raw until the next draft. And see one of those 4 men. That's what makes it important. Like, back in the day when John Cena was put on Raw, he was on Raw. You weren't seeing John Cena on SmackDown anymore. That's it. That's it. You had to tune in on Mondays if you wanted to see John Cena. And I know that plays into, like, the ratings, and you have to put certain people on certain shows and whatever, but there's no true brand loyalty. Like, I remember back in the day, in 2011, I think that's the year they did the draft, or 2010, I think it was 11. It was when John Cena was drafted to SmackDown and then Raw on the same night, right? And I remember the ultimate shock on my face because John Cena, at the moment, for about an hour, was drafted to SmackDown And that was so shocking because if you grew up watching, John Cena was a Raw guy through and through. He was on Raw for about 6 years up to that point, or 5 years. There was no John Cena on SmackDown. That's why it was so shocking when it actually happened. And that's why it needs to stick. Don't draft a superstar to that show and then not put them or not keep them on that show. That's just me. That's just my forte. I'm not going to draft people to SmackDown and put them on Raw a month later to build a fucking story. I'm not going to have them going on both brands or both shows to build a story. That's just me. Another reason why I think there's no brand exclusives. Like, there's no reason to, like, draw the people in, right? Like, back in the day, in the mid-2000s, and I know I keep saying back in the day, and people are probably going to sit here and go, well, you can't keep doing things like they were back in the day. You're wrestling fans. You're all fickle. I can do things however I want. You're either going to hate me or love me. And then you're going to probably change your opinion in 8 seconds, but whatever. But I remember back in the day that the women would be on one show, and the tag team division would be on another show, right? So in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, on Raw you had the WWE Championship, the tag team titles, the Intercontinental Championship, and the women's title. So all women, if you wanted the women, you had to go watch Raw. And the women's wrestling is 1,000,000 times better than it was 20 years ago. So that's actually an attraction, by the way. And then on SmackDown, you have the World Heavyweight Championship, the United States Championship, their own tag division, and, excuse me, the Cruiserweight Championship. You don't have the Cruiserweight Championship anymore, which is fine. You don't need it. The way I would do it, I would put 2 world titles on each show. Not 2 literally, but like WWE title and then World Heavyweight title. One goes on one show. You get it. So that's that. One show gets Intercontinental, one show gets United States. Raw or SmackDown will get the women's division, and then Raw or SmackDown will get the tag team division. And I know why that's a problem, because real life couples and real life things and blah, 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 XYZ. But in a perfect world, that's how I would do it. All right. That's just me. That's how I would do it. But I don't think there's nothing attracting someone to watch besides the wrestlers. There's nothing attracting people to watch the show. Like, when was the last time you watched the show and you were just like, God, I can't wait to see the tag division, or gosh, I can't wait to see the Cruiserweight division? You just don't do that anymore. You just don't. And I think you need a reason to tune into these shows other than brand loyalty, because it's, I don't know, man. And keep certain superstars on certain rosters for like 2 or 3 years. Like, one of the key intriguing things of having the rosters like that is that it builds up more hype and excitement for dream matches that you know for a fact can't happen if you did host a draft once a year. Like, imagine it's 2016, right? Imagine it's 2016 and we all just had a beautiful draft, right? Cool. John Cena's on SmackDown and Roman Reigns is on Raw. You have AJ Styles on SmackDown and you have Finn Balor on Raw. Imagine if Finn Balor and AJ Styles are out there just lighting shit up for an entire calendar year, and then June 2017 rolls around and you're just like, man, I wish those two could fight. And then the draft happens and then boop, they don't end up on the same show. And then it's like, man, I really wish those two fought. And then another year goes around, and then they keep lighting the place up. They're carrying the brand, and then one of them gets drafted over to the other show, and now you're even more excited. It's like a match 2 years in the making. I feel like that builds things up even better, for me at least. Plus, it keeps things fresh, because not every draft has to be 20 superstars changing shows. It doesn't have to be that, because that's damn near your whole roster. You're essentially just taking half the roster and flipping it. It doesn't need to be that. You can do like 10, max like 15, and keep things interesting. And another reason, the draft presentation itself sucks. They have no idea how to host a draft. The way I would have done it, I would have just made it like its own little pay-per-view. That's what I would have done. Like, me personally, that's what I would do. The week before or the week after Mania. Me personally, I prefer the week before, because that way you can do Mania and then you can do all your post-Mania surprises and stuff and be like, whoa, there they are. But if you really want to do it a week after because of possible title changes, you can. So WrestleMania happens, you have your banger Raw and SmackDown, which aren't really bangers anymore in terms of the crowd, because I hate the way the crowd are now. Post-COVID, them post-WrestleMania crowds suck. But you do that, And then let's say on Saturday, you literally just host a draft. Not like the way they're doing it with 5 picks. No. Alternating picks. 1 for Raw, 1 for SmackDown, 1 for Raw, and 1 for SmackDown. I hate this 3-2 or 2-3 shit because of the length of the show. Cut that shit out. Just make shit 2 hours. But back to the draft. So, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Make it like an NBA draft or an NFL draft. Like, they're always trying to make things more sports-oriented, which is really annoying. And I feel like they just say words that don't even correspond to what wrestling is all about. I'd pull specific examples, but I vividly remember one time when it was very early on to the TKO partnership or whatever, or like right before, someone got traded to SmackDown or Raw, and then they said they got traded for a draft exception. I don't think Vince knew what that meant, because that literally did not come back up ever. I don't think Vince knew at all what that shit meant. I wish someone could. I can't find it on Twitter because I'm not a social warrior like some of these people are. But some of these people are detectives and they'll find it for me. But I don't know, man. I've been on the draft for a long time. I am sorry, but you get it. You get it. My next one is that Jinder Mahal's championship reign was awful. We all know this. But I feel as if you could have given that spot to Cesaro. And Cesaro would have went absolutely mad. 2017 was a very dark time in professional wrestling, right? Okay, cool. Did we really need to add a Jinder Mahal championship reign to that? That's insane that happened, like, to this day. When you think about it, like, the fact that happened, it is crazy. And I cannot think to this day what Vince was thinking other than money. And to this day, I cannot think, like, if you really wanted a foreign heel champion for like half a year, Cesaro was sitting right there. And you cannot sit there and tell me that Cesaro would have done worse than Jinder Mahal. You cannot sit here and outright lie to me like that. Could you imagine if instead of Jinder versus Randy, Jinder versus Shinsuke, Jinder versus AJ, we got Cesaro in his spot? I'm just saying, man. There's no need in crying over spilled milk now, but I'm doing it anyway. I just feel as if that was probably one of the biggest missed opportunities. You can ask my brother. I've been screaming for years as a massive Cesaro fan. Now he's Claudio, but whatever. But, dude, he was sitting right there just waiting. He would have took the opportunity you gave Jinder. He would have knocked it out of the park, ran after it, caught the ball, and swung at it again. Even if you don't like Cesaro on the mic, he's not any worse than Jinder. There's no way. He is not worse than Jinder on the mic. If you want to sit there and go, his accent, I can't understand him. Racist? All right. How about you just sit there and learn? If you can understand Rusev, you can understand Cesaro. If you can understand Io Sky, you can understand Cesaro. That's all I got to say. Cesaro should have been in his spot. And the next part, this is like a two-parter. Dolph's cash-in should have lasted until John Cena originally beat Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship. Because if you remember, Dolph cashed in, held the belt for like 2 months, and then lost it to Del Rio. And it was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever witnessed in my life. Because I still am, I was a huge Dolph fan when I was younger. And when he was cashing in that night on Raw after WrestleMania, I thought he was going to lose because John Cena failed his cash in about a year earlier. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, what's stopping Vince from just saying, haha, fuck you, and having Dolph fail his cash in right here, right now? And then when he actually won, I was over the moon. And we had to sit there. Poor Dolph got a concussion. Poor Dolph got a concussion, which didn't help at all. And Del Rio won the championship back, and he held it for 133 days. Dolph held it, according to Wikipedia, Dolph held it for 69 Del Rio held it for 133, and then Cena beat Del Rio at Hell in a Cell. Could you imagine if from April 8th, 2013 to October 27th, 2013, we got a Dolph Ziggler uninterrupted World Heavyweight Championship reign? Could you imagine if we got 202 days of Dolph Ziggler at the top? Good God, the world would be a so much better place. If I could go back and change history, but not, you know, not do anything too drastic, like changing deaths or anything, because that's a category I don't want to speak of, because I'm not the man above and I don't control that whatsoever. But if I could go back and change booking history, if I could only make 5 decisions, these would be 2 of my 5. I would have Cesaro have Jinder's WWE Championship reign, and I'd have Del Rio I would have Del Rio never beat Dolph again for that World Heavyweight Championship. I would just have Dolph Ziggler hold that belt from April to October, and that's that. Go crazy. That is that. And my last hot take, major hot take, just retire the women's tag titles. I wish I was joking, but unfortunately I'm not. We are at a point where every women's tag team champion is just a put-together tag team, because all the real ones either get released or get injured and then get released. And it's sad, because they don't do a good job building the women's tag team division. So I would say just give it up. The women's tag team titles, it was like one of those things where it's like, yeah, good try, but we don't need them. We really don't. Look at what's going on right now. Liv Morgan and Raquel. Liv's gone off filming a movie. Raquel's just sitting there with a belt. Just one half of the champions. Just sitting there. And look at what AAW is... Not AAW. Subscribe. But look at what AEW is doing. They don't have women's tag team titles, and their women's division is doing great with just 2 women's world titles. That's all you need. I mean, Mercedes has like 20,000 belts, but you get it. TNA. Well, that's a lie. Ring of Honor. I don't know. Let's just talk about AEW, because they help validate my point. But Ring of Honor, man. Do they Ring of Honor? Anyway, AEW, they help prove my point. You don't need the women's tag titles, and they gave them a good try. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with trying and failing, and there's nothing wrong with tapping out and admitting when you're wrong. That's what the 24/7 championship was. They threw that thing in the trash as soon as Triple H took over. So there's nothing wrong with admitting, you know what, women, ladies, gals, we tried. It's just not clicking. We don't need them anymore. And get rid of them. That's just me. I just think that I don't believe in that type of stuff, but they're low-key cursed. Not a lot of good voodoo going around these women tag team titles ever since they got introduced. Half the women get released and the other half get injured. Looking like bad juju out here, man. But, yeah. That's my last hot take and opinion. Get rid of those women tag titles. Yep. Like, share, subscribe. Yep.